So I'm finally coming off Retatrutide, and what did I learn? Well, that's what I'm going to break down in today's video. But before I get into it, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. Quite a number of you have not, and I really, really appreciate it. We are very close to 10,000 subscribers, which is incredible for me. So thanks a lot. Okay. I want to get into this right away and not keep you waiting because I know Retatrutide videos are immensely popular online and have been now for months. I still get comments, so many comments asking all sorts of questions, some of which I can answer and others I cannot, but I totally appreciate it. So in the spirit of getting down to answering some of these questions and just passing along my observations, let's do it. I started Retatrutide back on March 1st. At the time, I was basically 200 pounds. For context, I'm like on a good day, 5'10". So I was a bit overweight. I would say I was around, overweight's subjective, I guess. I was around probably 19% body fat, maybe 18, if I'm really charitable with myself. Very quickly, let's just actually break down what I started with. I started doing every other day, 0.33 milligrams. So about a milligram a week, roughly. And I noticed it right away. Certainly within 24 hours, I noticed the appetite suppression right away. At the time, I was also taking a PPI, and I'll get into that more later. For those of you that know what PPI is, like pantoprazole was the name of the medication I was taking. That's a proton pump inhibitor, and it basically suppresses stomach acid production because I was having acid reflux. So I'll get into that later, like I said. So started on March 1st, probably within 6 to 7 weeks, at the most 8 weeks, I had lost 25 pounds. I'm not someone who enjoys eating at the best of times. I like how I feel trim. So I really leaned into the lack of appetite. I really enjoyed it, and way too much. Obviously, that amount of weight loss in that short of time is not really healthy, and I definitely ate into my muscle mass for sure. But yeah, I basically found that lowest efficacious dose, around 1 milligram, was more than enough initially. And even when I went up to probably 1.5 milligrams, split into 0.75 twice a week, it was still more than enough. It did mean when I was at that low a dose that like the day before injection, I would definitely feel hungry. So you really don't have much margin for error, right? Like if you look at the 6-day half-life of Retatrutide or so, and I track this in a little app that I've developed for myself, and there are plenty out there. You don't really need to develop your own app, but you can see that when you kind of drop under that sort of average where you're trying to stay above, and you can feel it, quite frankly, your appetite spikes up. So I cruised along at around that 1 or 1.5 milligram level of Retatrutide for quite a long time. Like I said, I only have just got off Retatrutide this past week or so. Probably a week ago was my last injection. I had sort of tapered it down a little bit. That is another thing you're supposed to do when you're getting off Retatrutide. It is taper it a bit toward the end. I peaked at around 3 milligrams a week, split into 2 injections. So about 1.5 milligrams per injection. Still have a bunch in my fridge that I haven't reconstituted yet, so I will probably go back on it at some point. But yeah, just getting back on script here. What I found, obviously, right away is the severe limits to cravings. Over that time period, my cigar habit went to 0 as well. I don't think this is a fluke. Those sort of dopaminergic kind of loops that maybe I don't really have an addictive personality, but the stuff that you enjoy, you crave, let's say, Reta really short circuits that across the board. So it's not just food or sweets or whatever. It can be smoking cigars in my case. It can be like alcohol consumption. Although as of late, I've started to have the odd cider or something at night. So, but I definitely found like I can't look at a cigar now and crave it really at all. And actually, I've talked about these before, but the lozenges, I won't say the word, but yeah, anyways, the smoking-esque lozenges that I have taken in the past for mental acuity, that makes me sick to think about taking them again right now. So something about Retatrutide has definitely kneecapped my ability to crave things. Fascinating side effect. And then, I do want to speak again about the muscle loss. I've heard people say that this is a skill issue, i.e. if you are skilled enough, you will not lose muscle. And I do agree, obviously, with people like Chase Irons. I think I saw him in a video the other day saying that he's up to like 9 milligrams a week or something of Reta right now. I mean, he's a huge dude, so that makes sense, sort of. But if he's able to retain muscle while on Retta, then obviously it's possible. I just really enjoyed the low overhead of not eating far too much. And that's what I think cost me muscle. I had a DEXA scan in the summer. And the last DEXA scan I had was the summer before. And I had lost like 10 pounds of muscle in that time. Pretty horrifying. I don't think I can attribute all of it to Retta at all. I think my training intensity went down dramatically year over year due to issues. I'm still, my shoulders, I haven't trained upper body in like 2 months, basically. My shoulder is destroyed. I can't even handle the slightest bit of weight, and I'm on a wait list with a surgeon right now. So I think it's very hard for me to attribute that muscle loss entirely to Retatrutide, but I have to think that because I was really leaning into the appetite suppression and the early going, that is it probably contributed to it, maybe by half of that amount or something, 5 pounds maybe but the moral of the story is you don't have to lose muscle if you're really not leaning so hard into the deficit and staying on top of things from a macro perspective. So yeah, I guess skill issue. So going back to the PPI, thank you, first of all, for everyone that commented on, I think I did a video that was talking, there was a user on Reddit that had almost wound up in the hospital. Well, I was going to he actually did wind up in the hospital. I was the one who was almost going to go to the hospital because I had eaten popcorn one night. I like popcorn. And because the PPI slows your stomach acid production and because Retta slows gastric emptying, the combinatorial effect of the two meant that I woke up the next day and nothing was moving and it felt horrible and everything just came up the other way, fortunately, and things, went back to normal. But after I put out that video, so many people said, get off the PPI, and they went on to detail how they would do it. And the most common recommended method for weaning yourself off of PPI was to increase stomach acid production, not reduce it, which is what a PPI is supposed to do. And to do that, it was, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar with a teaspoon of lemon juice mixed with water and a little bit of cinnamon. And I did that for, I would say, about 2 weeks while going down to every other day for the PPI. And by the 3rd week or so, I think I cut the PPI out entirely, and I haven't looked back. So I haven't really been I haven't at all been on a PPI for 2 months, I would say at this point, at least 2 months, which is fantastic. Anytime you can take a drug out of your regimen, awesome. These days, that's definitely one of my focuses, is kind of getting towards health and longevity a little bit more. Because I don't really have a choice, can't be lifting too heavy in the gym, so that's very disappointing. So I'm just doing a lot of cardio and stuff like that, and legs and abs when I can bring myself to do it. But yeah, anyways, that combination of the apple cider vinegar and the lemon juice, it got me off the PPI. So I highly recommend it. I am not one that normally believes in sort of more holistic treatments like that. So shame on me, even though I remember years ago, a naturopath was the one that repaired my duodenal ulcer with things like licorice extract and flaxseed oil. So I don't know, I shouldn't be skeptical anymore, but I really, really appreciate all your help with that. Thank you. So I think I already mentioned that I got up to about 3 milligrams a week at my peak for Retatrutide use. If I had a little tip, it would be to, when you're first starting out at least, don't make the same mistake I made and buy like a 10 milligram vial. Basically, when you reconstitute any peptide, and Retta included, it's probably going to last you about a month before its efficacy starts to dwindle. And so if you automatically assume you're going to consume 10 milligrams of Retatrutide in a month, chances are you're going to waste that if you're really starting very low like I did at 1 milligram a week and titrating up. So save yourself some money, get a 5 milligram vial and go from there, or get multiple 5 milligram vials. It gives you more flexibility. You can take an unreconstituted vial with you on a plane and reconstitute it at your destination, as opposed to trying to keep it, like cold the whole time you're traveling, which is a pain in the butt. That is my little advice there for whatever that's worth. And so I just became very acclimatized to the appetite curbing, and I still am. I mean, I'm still obviously 2 weeks away probably from the Retta being completely out of my system. because, like I said, the half-life is 6 days. So every 6 days, it's going down by half and so on. So I'm still very much under the influence, if you will, of Retta. And the other day, I stood on the scale after waking up, and I have a pretty good read of my body weight. You know, you kind of look in the mirror, what you see, how you feel. I felt like I wasn't as lean as when I sort of peaked on Retta, like a few months prior or so, at around 175. And when I stood on the scale, I was 176. So I'm not sure what to make of that necessarily, because I didn't look as good as I thought I should look for 176. It may just be because I haven't been in the gym as much, or like lifting and doing that kind of routine as much as I would have liked. But it definitely, I guess the lesson to take out of that is the longer term exposure to Retta, like now that, it's been 6 months, definitely made it much easier to cruise at 175, 176, which is a really good sort of quote unquote fighting weight. Pants fit fantastic. You look trim. For a dude who's 50, to me, I just want to look better than most people my age. I'm not going to look the best, but better than most would be great in terms of fitness. And Retta made it pretty effortless to do that. I get cravings later in the day, as I just always have. I think most of us have. You get tired and you eat comfort food, you're sitting at home, that sort of stuff. But because your appetite is so sufficiently curbed by Retta, I would have like protein shakes, that kind of stuff throughout the day. But even if I sort of quote unquote overate, I guess on a per meal basis, at the end of the day, I clearly wasn't even hitting like maintenance, or I was barely hitting maintenance, let's say. I guess the net effect is I felt like I was still treating myself at the end of the day by eating, I don't know, a bowl of ice cream or a bowl of cereal or something like that while I watch stupid reality television. But it was effortless. So I don't have anything bad to say about Retatrutide at this point. I'm thrilled that I got off the PPI because I've since had popcorn without any issue at all. Obviously, it was the compounding effects of the Retta and the PPI that brought about that blockage, basically. At the time, I think I was close to 3 milligrams a week of the Retta, so obviously I was at a higher dose then. But that's not an issue anymore with just Retta on its own. Those are my lessons. That's 6 months on Retatrutide in my world, and it probably won't be my last 6 months on Retatrutide. For now, I'm just going to see how fast my appetite comes back and what that does to my self-control. I want to observe if there are long-term effects in terms of satiety and insulin response and that kind of stuff. Because I have heard anecdotally that you can sort of essentially recalibrate your system through this type of prolonged Retatrutide exposure, so that when you're when you're off Retatrutide, it still feels good, basically. So I'd love to hear your comments and questions. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we get back on this video track. Thank you for your patience.